Not very good. But I'm grateful that I have it. Anyway, so I mixed 2 different coffees. Heated it up with some honey, some new honey. Okay. The first deacons in the early church. So what was the problem at the beginning? Verse 1, chapter 6. And in those days, when the number of the disciples was multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews, because their widows were neglected in the daily ministration. Couple things that you would lead into here, right? And are these, well, I mean, how should it be? Ideally. Well, if we lived in an honest society that wasn't dumb, this would work out. But see, this is the early church where their intentions were good and things made sense, and we didn't have a bunch of morons running the church. These people actually knew what they were doing. So this was good. This doesn't work as well today. Like when you watch a movie like it was the actor from Mystery Men who played Mr. What was the name of the Superman type person? You know, Mystery Men is a comedy about superheroes. It's pretty funny. But whoever the actor was at the start of the movie that just gets killed, you know, it's like Superman. It's like the Superman guy just gets killed. He lets loose the supervillain just to increase his popularity. That's the universe they live in. And he gets killed accidentally by the wannabe superheroes. That actor played in a movie he plays a pastor that's struggling with, you know, he says at one point, maybe God is real. The pastor says that. That's like a perfect picture of our pastors today. Like, they go off to college and study all this like philosophy stuff. They don't even open this. And then they become a pastor and they deliver a bunch of sermons based on philosophy and economy and history stuff or whatever nonsense they want to present other than this. And then they say something like that after something miraculous happens in their lives. They're like, maybe God really is real. And you pay that guy like thousands of dollars. That guy gets like $100,000 a year. He lives in super nice, huge farmhouse type house. And he's just making all kinds of dough. That guy's your pastor. Like, what? Wouldn't that be nice? And you can deliver sermons that have nothing to do with the Bible. What a joke. So this doesn't apply. This is how it should be if we didn't live in a world that is so broken and corrupt, and the church has been corrupted. We're at the end of this age, okay? So when I apply these ideas to today, it can make everybody just enraged. You know, you can see I'm annoyed about it. I mean, baby, God is real. It's not funny. That's actually how they think. It's incredible. Sad. They don't even. They're your pastor. Your pastor doesn't even know if God is real. How is that guy the leader of the flock, the shepherd of your flock of sheep, looking for guidance on God? Doesn't even know if God exists. What a joke. Anyway, the point of verse 1. Their widows were neglected in the daily ministration. So there's a problem with the ministers being able to talk with widows and comfort them and pray with them. That should be their job, is visiting the sick and hungry and the people suffering and lifting them up. So then it progresses to verse 2, which says, we really shouldn't have to deal with this because we need time to minister to those sick widows and people who are suffering. You know, I feel bad for Kathleen. She comes in my store and asks for help. She's a widow. She's less than 100 pounds. She's got Parkinson's and cancer, and she's dealing with a demon in her neighborhood, you know. And I pray for her and I help her when I can. And but that's a good example right there of somebody that needs some help and should have some help. But if the pastor is working a 9-to-5 job, then he's not going to have time to help her. So, see, when I watch movies like that Christian movie where the guy says maybe God is real, or you know, he's questioning that, then I'm like, maybe that guy should have a 9-to-5 job, because it doesn't seem like he's spending any of his time for his ministry. You know, it's like the opposite today. They just pile so much money on him, and then he just takes the appearance of this beautiful pastor that supposedly has the knowledge that God exists, and he's my example of who I should look to for my spiritual authority and my spiritual questions, and he doesn't even open a Bible, you know. It's the opposite today, because we're at the end of the age, you know. We've been living in this church age, and the leaven has nearly come full circle, full growth of leavening, corrupting. So God is about had it. God knows exactly what I'm talking about with that kind of corruption. I mean, it's just not, it's not right. Versus a humble pastor like pastor in Thailand, Pastor Anthony. Why can't he should have all kinds of help, but he doesn't. He doesn't get the help that he deserves, he needs. But that has to do with the corruption here in America, I think, you know. People are so corrupted, they send all their money to a bunch of rich hypocrites that don't even do anything with the money that would be positive for any kind of spiritual application. They buy another truck. Yeah, this is my third truck because I'm blessed by God. Well, I don't know. It's just not fair. I think it's an indicator of the end of the age, and God bless Pastor Anthony for being able to function with what he does have. But it's not fair. It's not fair, and it's a broken system that's ending. It's ending because of that kind of corruption. There shouldn't be. But I apologize. We should just be sticking to the word. This is the early church where there wasn't that kind of corruption. So yes, this is how it should be. And so they decide to hire a bunch of people to help with the ministry and they can take over apparently they have a diner or something, and they need people to wait on tables, so they're hiring all these other people to, you know, so these would be the second in command, the deacons, as he says at the top there. So deacons in the early church. So you have the pastors, and now you have the deacons. Maybe the pastors are helping out with the tables on one day, and then the deacons are helping out on another day, you know. But the point is to get to the widows that are suffering. That should be part of their daily ministering. So we shouldn't neglect those kinds of needs, but you also need time to be able to do things, time and money. And some people are good at making money, others are good at working, some are good at talking to people. I've always felt that like Jimmy, my friend Jim, I think Jim is very good at arguing with scumbags. And I've had arguments in the past with him. He just makes me so mad. But, you know, I look back on it and I'm like, what were we arguing about? And he's excellent. You know, I could just compliment you, Jim. You are very good at arguing with people. You should be a professional debate person like Andrew Wilson. Just giving you a compliment here. I'm not, you know. But some people are good at making money. McGee talks about that in a lot of his videos. You know, that kind of person could make money for the church, and that's what he's good at. So that's what he's doing. And then he can help the church out more than the person that, you know, and then you have a person waiting tables that would be far more effective at comforting people, you know. Lately, this is going to sound ridiculous, but I want to be strong in any area, you know. That's what I strive for, you know. I want to be strong physically so I can help out with moving a sofa or unloading a truck, but I also want to be skilled and comforting to people, good at communicating with people. I'm good in the work environment, not in the social environment, though. So I can bridge my social inadequacies at work. Once I get out of work, then I'm a nervous wreck again. But anyway, some people are very good at communicating with people and reaching out to people, and others are good at working and doing other things. So anyway, they hire these other people here, and the saying pleased the whole multitude, and they chose Stephen, a man full of faith and of the Holy Ghost, and Philip, and Prochorus, and Nicanor, and Timon, and Parmenas, and Nicholas, a proselyte of Antioch. That's where the next note is. I haven't even gotten to the first note. Anyway, let's stop here and then we'll look at the notes. But that's the main subject that we're talking about here. And then Stephen is the first person mentioned here on this list, and he is the one that the scumbags immediately attack because the power of the Holy Ghost is truly in him, and they see that and they want to destroy that immediately because that's and by destroying it they only further grow the church, as happens later. But it's amazing. This is amazing. Anyway, let's take a break and we'll look at these notes in the next video. Thank you. Goodbye.